wavering shadows across the cracked pavement. "I don't trust everyone in this town," Sam admitted. "But I trust you, Clara." She nodded, the hint of a fragile alliance forming between them. "Then help me find the truth, no matter where it leads." Sam hesitated, then gave a slow nod. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with peril and moral ambiguity. But for the first time, he was ready to take a step toward clarity, toward justice. The town's silence was broken, but at what cost? As Clara watched Sam walk away, she knew the struggle for truth was far from over. Somewhere beneath the surface, darker forces stirred, and the fragile fabric of the mountain town threatened to unravel completely. And in that dawning light, with alliances shifting like shadows, Clara felt the weight of the hollow promise more keenly than ever. The question remained, would Sam's allegiance hold, or would the town's secrets prove too powerful to overcome? The answer would come soon enough, and when it did, everything would change. Clara folded her notebook and glanced once more toward the distant peaks. The investigation was entering its most dangerous phase yet. She steeled herself. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it head-on, even if it meant standing alone. Clara Hayes sat stiffly across from Ellen Moreau, the mayor's estranged daughter, whose sharp gaze seemed to cut through the quiet with a force more palpable than any spoken word. Ellen's hands trembled slightly as she folded and refolded a crumpled tissue. Her auburn hair pulled back loosely, revealing the weary lines etched around her eyes. The silence stretched taut before Ellen finally spoke, her voice low and laced with a bitterness that betrayed years of pent-up anguish. "You think you know him," Ellen began, eyes flickering with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "But you don't. My father, Elias Marrow, wasn't the man the town paints him to be. Not the protector, not the benevolent leader. There was another side, one that the town's secrets have buried deep." Clara leaned forward, her sharp intuition compelling her to listen intently. "What do you mean?" Ellen's gaze darkened, memories surfacing painfully. The promises he made, the hollow ones, they weren't just about control. They were about fear, silence, and sacrifice. He demanded loyalty, yes, but at what cost? Families broken, lives ruined. I was one of them. The room seemed to shrink under the weight of Ellen's confession. Clara's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the mayor's influence that had so far been shrouded in ambiguity. The portrait of Elias Marrow as a complex, even manipulative figure was no longer just an abstract theory, but a deeply personal reality for his own daughter. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by the creak of the library door. Deputy Sam Collins entered, his weather-beaten uniform a stark contrast to the fragile tension in the room. Ellen's eyes narrowed immediately, suspicion flaring. "And what are you doing here?" she demanded, voice hardening. Sam's expression was guarded but earnest. "I'm here to help, Ellen. We all want the truth, even if it's hard to face." But Ellen wasn't convinced. Help or protect the town's lies. The accusation hung in the air, a reminder of the divided loyalties that Clara had sensed from the start. The deputy's conflicted stance was emblematic of the town itself, caught between preserving the past and confronting its buried sins. Later, in the cramped kitchen of Ellen's childhood home, the atmosphere was charged with raw emotion. The flickering light of a single bulb cast shifting shadows on the peeling wallpaper as Ellen recounted moments. From her youth, the cold silences, the whispered warnings, the unspoken threats that defined her father's reign. "He wasn't just a mayor," she said bitterly. "He was a tyrant in disguise." Clara found herself caught between empathy and professional detachment, struggling to reconcile the warmth she had glimpsed in some town elders with the harsh truths Ellen revealed. The complexity of the mayor's legacy unraveled further with each revelation, leaving Clara to navigate a labyrinth of moral ambiguity. Outside, the mountain sky had darkened to a slate grey, rain beginning to fall in steady, unrelenting sheets. Ellen stood silently by the window, watching the drops race down the glass. The weight of her pain was as heavy and relentless as the storm, a tangible reminder of the town's fractured soul. This chapter marked a turning point in Clara's investigation. Ellen's painful memories peeled back layers of deceit and control, exposing the mayor's darker side and the personal cost borne by those closest to him. The fragile trust Clara had built with the community now teetered on the edge, threatening to shatter under the strain of truths long concealed. As Clara prepared to delve deeper into the town's secrets, the question lingered: how many more lies lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed? The path forward was fraught with peril, but Clara's resolve hardened. To uncover the truth, she would have to confront not only the town's demons, but her own as well. The chapter closed on a note of uneasy anticipation. Ellen's confession had opened a door that could not be closed, and Clara knew that crossing its threshold would change everything. The mountain town held its breath, suspended between the shadows of the past and the uncertain light of revelation, as the detective took her next steps into the heart of the mystery. The mountain air was crisp, but the silence around the old town hall was suffocating. As she pushed open the heavy oak door, the scent of aged wood and dust greeted her like a warning. The building, once a proud symbol of the mayor's authority, now seemed like a crypt guarding memories better left undisturbed. Her footsteps echoed softly on the creaking floorboards as she made her way toward the cellar entrance. The metal hatch groaned in protest when she lifted it, revealing a narrow staircase swallowed by darkness. Clara switched on her flashlight, the beam cutting through the blackness like a lifeline. One cautious step after another, she descended into the shadows. The cellar was spacious, yet cramped with decades of forgotten belongings. Crates stacked with yellowed papers, broken furniture, and dust-covered artifacts filled the room. Clara's eyes caught a series of photographs pinned on the far wall, their edges curled and stained. Faces stared back at her town elders, smiling and grimacing alike. Some with Mayor Elias Marrow himself, others with expressions that hinted at unease beneath forced joviality. She reached out to touch one, a faded image of the mayor shaking hands with a group of residents, beneath which a note in a trembling hand read, "The price of peace is silence." Her heart quickened. This was no ordinary history lesson. It was a confession. Clara carefully sifted through the documents, uncovering letters and contracts that seemed to contradict the official narrative the town had long repeated. These papers revealed a series of secret agreements, each binding residents to the mayor's will under veiled threats and promises of protection. The hollow promise wasn't just rhetoric, it was a mechanism of control, a web woven through fear and obligation. She was so absorbed that the creak of footsteps startled her. Maggie Thornton appeared in the doorway, her face pale but resolute. "I see you found the town's dirty laundry," Maggie said softly, her voice a mixture of resignation and warning. Clara nodded, closing the folder carefully. This is why no one talks," Maggie continued. "Because once you know, you can't unsee. It tears the town apart." That night at the inn, over cups of bitter coffee, Maggie shared whispered stories, fragments of memories passed down, tales of quiet deals made in the shadows, and the mayor's iron grip disguised as protection. Yet, even as Clara felt an ally in Maggie, the tension thickened elsewhere. The rain hammered the windows of the sheriff's office, where Deputy Sam Collins awaited her. His face was drawn, eyes flickering with conflict. "Detective," he said, voice low, "you don't know what you're stirring. This town knits held together by those promises, broken or not. Dig too deep, and you'll bring the whole mountain down on us." Clara met his gaze, unwavering. "I have to find the truth, Sam, no matter the cost." He sighed, rain dripping from his soaked hat. "Be careful. Not everyone wants to see that truth." The following day, Clara sought out Ellen Marrow, the mayor's estranged daughter. She found her standing alone at the town's edge, the fog curling around her like a shroud. Ellen's voice was raw as she spoke of the man she barely knew, her father, a figure both revered and reviled. "He built this town with his promises," she said, "but those promises were chains. I stayed away because I couldn't live under his shadow. Now, with him gone, I'm not sure what's left for any of us." The wind tugged at her coat, mirroring the turmoil in her eyes. Clara felt the weight of the town's history pressing down on her, the secrets, the lies, the broken oaths. Each revelation was a fracture in the community's fragile peace, threatening to unleash the fury of years of buried guilt and fear. As she left the cliffside, Clara knew the path ahead was fraught with peril. The shadows she had uncovered were only the beginning. The town's darkest corners still held secrets waiting to be dragged into the light, and someone was determined to keep them hidden. The whispers in the shadows were growing louder, and Clara could no longer ignore the danger closing in. She tightened her jacket against the chill, steeling herself for the battles to come. The hollow promise had begun to unravel, and the mountain town would never be the same. With each step back toward the heart of the town, Clara felt the eyes of the past watching her, silent, accusing, relentless. The game had changed. The secrets were no longer safe, and the truth would demand a reckoning. The faint scent of dust and old cedar would crept into her senses, a stark contrast to the fresh mountain air she had grown accustomed to. Inside, a restless murmur coursed through the gathered crowd, a mixture of suspicion, fear, and barely concealed anger. The townsfolk had come together, drawn by the gravity of the mayor's disappearance and Clara's relentless probing into their past. Tonight, the fragile veneer of community was about to crack. Rows of folding chairs had been hastily arranged, some occupied, others abandoned as conversations sparked and died like flickering embers. Clara's eyes swept across the sea of faces, each etched with the weight of secrets. Maggie Thornton sat near the front, her weathered features taut but composed, fingers nervously clutching the edge of the wooden table. Beside her, Deputy Sam Collins looked out of place in his rumpled uniform, his posture stiff with unease. Clara cleared her throat, drawing the room's attention. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady but calm. "I know this isn't easy. Mayor Morrow's disappearance has left a hole in this town, and my investigation has raised questions that are uncomfortable but necessary." A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd. From the back, a sharp voice cut through the tension. "Uncomfortable? It's tearing the town apart." A man, middle-aged, with grizzled hair and a face reddened by years of mountain winds, stood, his fists clenched at his sides. Clara nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. "I understand the strain this places on everyone, but the only way forward is through honesty." Ellen Marrow, the mayor's estranged daughter, emerged from the shadows near the doorway, her sharp eyes locked on Clara. She stepped forward, her voice laced with bitterness. "Honesty. The town has been built on lies and broken promises. My father's legacy isn't the noble one you want to believe." A hush fell. Maggie's eyes flickered to Ellen, then back to Clara, as if silently warning her to tread carefully. Clara felt the weight of the moment pressing down. "Ellen," Clara said gently, "your perspective is important. This investigation isn't about defending anyone, but seeking the truth." Ellen's gaze softened for a moment, then hardened again. "The truth is, the mayor's promises were chains, not shields, and some here still cling to those chains out of fear." Deputy Sam Collins stepped forward, attempting to bridge the widening gap. "Let's not forget, we're all part of this community. We owe it to ourselves to find common ground." But the room shifted uneasily. Voices rose, some calling out accusations, others pleading for calm. The invisible lines drawn by loyalty, fear, and guilt became starkly apparent. Clara's heart pounded as she realized the depth of the town's fracture. Each revelation, each question she posed, threatened to unravel what little cohesion remained. The mayor's hollow promise had not only bound the town, but had sown seeds of distrust that now bloomed in full. As the meeting wore on, Clara found herself caught between the town's defenders and dissenters. Maggie offered cautious insights, her loyalty to the town tempered by a growing fear of what the truth might unleash. Ellen's sharp words challenged Clara's assumptions, forcing her to confront uncomfortable realities. Sam's conflicted role added a layer of complexity, his allegiance torn between maintaining order and supporting Clara's quest. When the meeting finally adjourned, the air outside was thick with unresolved tension. Clara stepped into the cold mountain night, the chill seeping through her jacket. She inhaled deeply, the scent of pine and damp earth grounding her amid the storm of emotions. The distant howl of wind echoed the unrest she felt within, a reminder that the path ahead would be treacherous. Trust was fractured, alliances fragile, and the lines drawn tonight would shape the course of her investigation and the town's future. Clara knew she couldn't afford to lose hope. But as she looked back at the dimly lit hall, shadows flickering behind the windows, she understood that every step forward might come at a cost greater than she had anticipated. The hollow promise was no longer just a secret buried beneath the mountain. It was a living fault line, ready to fracture everything it touched, and Clara was standing right at its edge. The night stretched on, and with it, the uneasy silence of a town caught between past sins and uncertain tomorrows. She tightened her grip on her notebook, determination burning brighter than ever. The lines had been drawn. Now, it was time to see who would stand and who would fall. The following days promised no reprieve. Clara's investigation would stir deeper waters, and the town's fragile peace would be tested beyond endurance. Yet amid the turmoil, a quiet resolve took root in her chest. The truth would not remain hidden, not on her watch. But in this mountain town, wrapped in shadows and broken oaths, every truth revealed came with a price, and Clara was ready to pay it. The secret agreement, a pact etched in ink and silence, lay sprawled across the rough-hewn table like a ghost from the past. Each faded signature was a testament to the promises that had bound this mountain town together. Promises whispered in fear and sealed with a weight heavier than any oath should bear. She leaned back, her breath shallow, the wood beneath her scraping softly against the chair. Outside, the wind howled through the pines, carrying with it the sharp scent of cold earth and pine resin. Clara's mind churned, the lines between right and wrong blurring in the dim light. Eli's Marrow's disappearance was no longer just a missing person. Caseit was a revelation of a fragile society built on deception and control. The mayor had been both protector and puppet master, and the town was his stage. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the door. Father James entered quietly, his presence calm but heavy with unspoken burdens. His eyes met Clara's, reflecting a mixture of sympathy and guarded knowledge. "They say the truth can set you free," he began, his voice low and steady. "But here, sometimes it only fractures what little peace we have left." Clara nodded slowly, folding the document carefully. "Disagreement. It's more than a contract. It's a cage. Everyone here has been living behind masks, afraid to break the silence." Father James sighed, stepping closer. "I've heard confessions, whispered prayers, and the weight of guilt in this town runs deep. The oaths were meant to protect, but they've become shackles." The detective's gaze hardened, and yet no one wants to admit it. The mayor kept the town together, but at what cost? How many more lies are buried beneath his promises? Outside the window, the sky had darkened to a steely grey, the first hints of a coming storm. Clara rose, her resolve solidifying like the cold mountain stone. "I have to understand it all. The broken oaths, the silence, the fear. Only then can I find the truth." Father James nodded, his eyes reflecting the flickering firelight. "Be careful, Clara. Some truths aren't ready to be uncovered." Later that afternoon, Clara met Deputy Sam Collins by the edge of the forest. The mountain air was crisp, each breath sharp and visible in the chill. Sam's weather-beaten face was etched with conflict, his loyalty pulled between the town's elders and Clara's relentless pursuit. "You're stirring up things that should have stayed buried," Sam warned, voice low, eyes darting nervously toward the trees. "This town survives on those promises, broken or not. If you push too hard, there'll be consequences." Clara met his gaze steadily. "And if I don't, what then? They keep hiding behind their silence while the truth rots beneath their feet." Sam's jaw tightened. "You're not like the rest of us. You don't understand what it means to live with this weight every day." "I'm starting to." Clara's voice was quiet but resolute. "And I won't let fear keep us from facing it." Their conversation ended in uneasy silence, the forest around them whispering secrets in the wind. That evening, Clara returned to the inn where Maggie Thornton awaited her in the dim light of the common room. Maggie's eyes, sharp and tired, held the weight of years spent guarding the town's secrets. Her voice wavered as she spoke, reluctant but compelled by Clara's persistence. There were promises made, yes, Maggie admitted, but they weren't just words. They were survival. The mayor gave us safety, but he demanded loyalty in return. Loyalty that sometimes meant turning away from the truth. Clara leaned forward, urgency threading her tone. "And what happens when those promises break? When the safety is an illusion?" Maggie swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around her cup. "Then you're left with fear and guilt that never fades. We're all bound by those broken oaths, and some of us will do anything to keep them buried." The room seemed to close in around Clara, the weight of the town's collective guilt pressing down like the heavy mountain mist. But beneath the suffocating silence, a fire kindled within her, the fire of determination and unyielding truth. As night deepened, Clara's thoughts spiraled through the promises made and broken, the faces of those she'd met, and the fragile threads of trust that still held the town together. The hollow promise was more than a secret. It was the town's very lifeblood, and exposing it would come at a cost. Yet, despite the danger and the shadows gathering close, Clara knew she could not turn back. The weight of those oaths was hers to bear now, and she would carry it to the end, no matter what lay ahead. A distant howl echoed in the mountain night, a reminder that beneath the stillness, the town's secrets were restless, waiting to be unearthed. Clara sat across from the innkeeper, the flickering firelight dancing in Maggie's keen eyes as she spoke in clipped, cautious tones. The warmth of the room contrasted sharply with the chill that had settled in Clara's bones since arriving in the mountain town. Maggie's voice wavered as she recounted fragments of the mayor's influence, tales woven with loyalty, fear, and a palpable reluctance to betray the silent pact that still held the town in its grip. Elias, he had a way of making you feel like you belonged, Maggie said, her gaze distant. But it was never just goodwill. There was always something else. Something we didn't fully understand. Clara nodded slowly, her mind racing to connect the pieces. The mayor's hold on the town was more than political. It was woven into the very fabric of their lives, a hollow promise that both protected and imprisoned them. Maggie's guarded warmth was a fragile bridge, one Clara knew she had to cross carefully. Later, in the quiet sanctuary of Father James's office, the atmosphere shifted. The soft glow of afternoon light filtering through stained glass bathed the room in a gentle hue, lending an almost sacred stillness to the space. Father James, tall and slender, met Clara's weary eyes with calm understanding. His voice was low, steady, offering guidance without judgment. "The town carries its sins like a shroud," he said, folding his hands over a well-worn Bible. "But within that burden lies the possibility of grace. It's not an easy path, detective. Truth can heal, but it can also wound." Clara felt a flicker of solace in his words, a reminder that even amidst the shadows of broken oaths and buried guilt, there could be light. Yet, the priest's quiet counsel also underscored the complexity of what lay ahead, the delicate balance between exposing secrets and respecting the fragile lives entwined with them. The fragile alliances Clara dared to forge, however, were tested sharply in the sheriff's office. Deputy Sam Collins, his weather-beaten uniform a stark contrast to his internal turmoil, met Clara with a mixture of pragmatism and guarded mistrust. Their conversation was terse, voices low but edged with tension, as rain drummed insistently against the window pane. "You're stirring up old ghosts, Clara," Sam warned, his jaw tight. "This town's got its ways. You don't just walk in and tear down walls without consequences." Clara met his gaze evenly. "I'm not here to tear down, Sam. I'm here to understand, to find the truth." But the rift between them was palpable, a fracture that threatened to undermine the investigation as loyalties pulled Sam in conflicting directions. The deputy's allegiance to the town elders clashed with his duty, and Clara knew this tension could unravel the fragile network of trust she struggled to build. As night settled over the mountain town, Clara found herself alone on the porch of Maggie's inn. The cool breeze whispered through the pines, carrying the distant, haunting howl of a lone wolf. The stars overhead were sharp and cold, a stark reminder of the isolation she felt. Yet beneath that solitude burned a quiet resolve. The alliances forming were tentative, fragile shards of trust pieced together from fear and hope alike. Maggie's guarded insights, Father James's steady counsel, and even the strained, uneasy connection with Deputy Sam, all were fragments Clara would have to navigate carefully. Her mind churned with questions. Who could she truly rely on? How deep did the mayor's influence run? And most pressing of all, could the town face the truth without tearing itself apart? Clara's fingers tightened around her notebook as she stared into the dark, the weight of the hollow promise pressing closer. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with danger and moral ambiguity. But one thing was clear: the fragments of trust she gathered now might be the only hope for justice in a town held captive by its own silence. And somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching, waiting to see if Clara would break or become part of the unspoken pact herself. The night deepened, the mountain air sharp and still. Clara rose from the porch, her breath misting in the cold. The pieces were slowly coming together, but the picture was far from complete. The fragile